Zanzibar, 1995. People stopped sleeping. Whole villages. Not because of war, not because of hunger, because of what came after dark. Strangers described the same thing in the same words without ever meeting. A shadow with one eye, wings like a bat, pressing down on your chest while you sleep. It spoke, it demanded, and it did not care whether you believed in it. The fear got so bad, the government held emergency meetings. This is Popobawa, the demon that paralyzed an entire island.
Zanzibar, 1995. People stopped sleeping. Whole villages, not because of war, not because of hunger, because of what came after dark. Strangers described the same thing in the same words without ever meeting. A shadow with one eye, wings like a bat, pressing down on your chest while you sleep. It spoke, it demanded, and it did not care whether you believed in it. The fear got so bad, the government held emergency meetings. This is Popobawa, the demon that paralyzed an entire island. Pemba first, then Unguja, then the rumor jumped the water toward the mainland. These are coral islands, thick walls, carved doors, rooms that hold the heat long after the sun is gone. In 1995, the nights were still lit by lamps and cooking fires. You could walk an alley in Stone Town and hear a radio through a window, a dog, the sea. Then the nights went quiet in a different way. People did not go to bed. They sat in courtyards. They kept the fire going until the sky turned grey. Children slept sitting up against their mothers because a body lying flat was an invitation. The name is Swahili. Popo, bat. Bawa, wing. Popobawa, batwing. Not a nickname someone invented for a newspaper. A shape, a shadow thrown across a room. The thing you see when you cannot move. Ask 10 people who were there, and you will not get 10 stories. You will get one story, repeated until it sounds like a recording.
It comes after midnight. The room smells wrong, sharp like sulfur, like a match held too close. Then the weight. It settles on the chest, not a dream weight, a real one. Ribs, breath, arms that will not lift. The mind is awake, the body is not. Above the bed, a darkness that has an edge, hunched, winged, and in the middle of a face that is barely a face, one eye. Some said the eye was amber, some said it burned, some could not look at it long enough to decide. It is not silent, it speaks, not always in a voice you would recognize as a voice, a pressure in the head, a sentence you did not choose. It wants something simple and impossible at the same time. Tell them I was here. Say my name. Do Do not pretend this did not happen. If you stay quiet, it comes back. That is what people said. That is what they told their neighbors at dawn, shaking, still tasting the dark. Doctors have a word for the body waking before the muscles do. Sleep paralysis, a glitch in the door between sleep and morning. The mind furnishes the room with a visitor because the silence is unbearable. Both explanations leave you in the same position, on your back, unable to move, listening for wings. On the Swahili coast, they have always known the Shetani, spirits that are not God and not men. Some are merely inconvenient, some are owed, some get loose. The story that follows Popobawa like a second shadow is this. After the revolution that tore the Sultanate off these islands, a sheikh, or a man who wanted to be one, called something up to punish his enemies. A jinn, a servant with wings. He thought he could hold it. He could not. The spirit slipped the knot. It has been hunting rooms ever since. It borrows shapes, a man in a doorway, an animal at the edge of the lamp, a darkness the size of a child, then the size of the ceiling. By day it can look ordinary, by night it remembers what it is.
Other people will tell you it was never bound, that it is older than the revolution, older than the British, older than the doors, that the 1960s only woke it, that 1995 was not a beginning, it was a season. You do not have to pick a version. The island did not pick a version. The island stayed awake. It started on Pemba in the first weeks of the year, a handful of houses, then a street, then a village that would not put the fire out. Men who had never believed in spirits sat with their backs to the same wall as the people who had always believed. Belief stopped being the point. The point was no one wanted to be the only body in a dark room. They beat drums, they shouted, they walked in groups to the latrine. They slept in shifts, if they slept at all. Wood smoke replaced the smell of sleep. The reports moved the way reports move when they are also a command. Each victim was told to speak, so they spoke, so the next house heard, so the next house stayed up. Popobawa does not need to fly from Pemba to Unguja if a mouth can carry it. By the time it reached Stone Town, it was no longer a story you could keep in the family. It was public, it was political, it was in the market and in the mosque and in the offices where men in shirts tried to look like the night could be administered. There were meetings, emergency ones, the kind of meetings a government holds when the problem is not a storm and not a strike and not a disease with a name in a manual. What do you put in a report when the complaint is a winged darkness and the evidence is 1,000 people who refuse to close their eyes? Fear this wide does not stay in the bed. Crowds formed. Some of them were only watching. Some of them were hunting. In a panic, a neighbor can look like a shapeshifter. A stranger at a door can look like the thing that was in the room. On Unguja, the fear turned its hands on living men. At least 3 were beaten to death, taken for Popobawa or for someone who served it. They were not. They were men. The island buried them anyway. That is the other face of a Shetani, not the wing,
the permission it gives ordinary people to see a monster in a human outline.
If you are looking for a moral, there isn't a clean one. The people who stayed awake were not foolish. The people who died in the street were not demons. The thing in the room, spirit or symptom, still left the same bruise, a chest that remembered the weight in daylight. You can call it a jinn, you can call it a shaitani, you can call it a story that ate an island because stories are hungry. You can call it sleep paralysis with an audience. Popobawa does not argue. That is the point of it. It does not sit across from you and debate the 17th century. It waits until the lamp is out. It finds the chest. It makes the mouth work in the morning because a secret is the only thing it cannot use. In the years after 1995, it came back in smaller waves. A season, a village, a week of fires in the yard. Then it receded, the way a tide recedes, which is not the same as going away.
The doors are still carved. The alleys are still narrow. The moon still lays a white road on the water. And somewhere between Pemba and Unguja, when the drums stop and the fire burns down to the last red, a person still lies on their back and tests their fingers just to know they can move. One eye, wings like a bat, a name you are not supposed to keep to yourself. This is Popobawa. It shot down an island without an army. It did it in the dark, and it did not need you to believe in it in order to be there.